So for example, if I hit this guy against the wall, which I have done already, that is going to cause more damage. I did it a bit quickly. That's going to cause more damage because his head hit the side of this parapet, and that gives you more score. That means that a lot of people will be trying to get combat, so people get stuck on these spikes. Then you can do that. You get even more of a score. We've also got things called loose objects. So if I'm over these bottles, I can actually use the same button to throw these bottles at my enemies. And that'll give you more of a score. So you start to see what we're dealing with here. Physical-based combat, physics-based combat, which means that the proximity of where you are, the speed at which you hit your button. Oops, I didn't mean to kill him. Never mind, I'll wake him up again. The speed at which you hit your enemy gives you a different score. Now that's pretty good for one button. It's a pretty natural feeling when you use it. It supports mashing, charging and strategic combat, but it's not the real magic of combat. And so the next feature I'm going to show you is much more to do with what I call the magic of combat. And we need another feature. This is what we're trying to do in Fable, take a few features and just polish them very highly. Now, the way we're going to do that is I want you to think of this sword not only as a sword, but of something like a conductor's baton. Has anyone played a game called Res? Do you remember Res? The way you played that unlocked the different music tracks. Do you remember that? We're taking that exact same idea. In fact, we played around with something a lot with a guy called Jeff Minter a few years ago, and we're applying it to combat. So I'm going to turn it on now, and this music that you're hearing now is procedurally generated to reinforce the drama of your combat. If you play with this combat, the music will be completely different because your combat styles will be completely different. Now that is starting to be really, really cool and really, really interesting. Also, everything I've said about combat so far, all of the moves is totally modified by the weapon you're holding, including the music that you make. You are making music when you're fighting. So if I'm holding a dagger, totally different moves, totally different combat style. Hammers, maces, halberds, polearms, all different combat styles. That's starting to be quite cool. So let's turn this on now and go through this. Not only is the music under your control, but you're going to see some little mini, tiny cutscenes being fired off. They're under your control and they're based upon your style of combat. So I can still use the button mashing exactly as I did before. Oh, that was a bug. It's button mashing. I'm still using the environment. I smashed his head against the side there. I'm still using the power up. So the sound's not very high at the moment. So, okay, so you can hear those drums going off. Those drums are generated by my saw blows, especially when I get things right, which I'm not doing a terribly good job at the moment. So if I start to be more dramatic with my blows, swines have got really hard. Yes, unfortunately I've loaded up the hard version, so this is going to take some concentration to do. Let me just break out of this and... That was terrible. Right, you can start to hear the music more dramatic. Now I'm in my swing. I managed to get two at once. That's going to start unlocking more of the music that's going on here. If I can get into my stride.
I'm looking the wrong way.
You can hear the drums starting to kick in. I'll just do a reverse roundhouse now. I'll do a side cut blow. You can start to see the drama of what we're trying to get. All these little cutscenes, they're dependent upon your combat style. Wow, I haven't played this build before. It's double the number of enemies that I normally have. In fact, what I'm going to do, I'm making such a bad job of this that I'm going to ask one of you to take over. Who wants to take over the fight? You're doing much harder than anybody else. You can hear how the music is really ramped up. That's really dependent upon the combat style. If you were here before in other demos, you would have heard completely different music because of the different combat styles. You can do lots of build. When you press and hold, you're actually defending. That was lovely. Shame I wasn't able to do that. Remember that it's not only the button you press, it's where you're standing that's really important. That was fantastic. If you hit the button one more time, you would have stabbed him. Or you can headbutt him. That was based on your proximity, because you couldn't get the weapon close enough. Then all the procedural combat system was saying, right, he hit the button, the only thing I can use as a weapon is the player's head. Sometimes he uses his elbows, sometimes the butt of the sword. That was a killing blow. You get 8 times the score for that. One more I think you've got one more to go. I know we've got a few bugs of the cutting through there. Now this guy's going to be hard, so you could use this. If you can get the highest score is set up at the moment is if you can get his head on the watering can. Right, I had hoped you weren't going to kill him because I was going to show how you could kill him. But never mind. Oh no, you can still go. Should I just take over for the finale? If I can do it. Oh no, I missed. So what I was trying to do, I was trying to get his head on that watering can.